Hi, everyone, and welcome. I'm Alex Campanelli, content strategist at Fuze. Today, I'm joined by Lisa Campopiano, VP of Customer Success and Sales here at Fuze, as well as Ron Calixto, VP of Professional Services. Welcome, you guys.
Hey, Alex.
Thank you. Glad to be here. Thanks for having us.
So, both of you represent organizations and head up organizations that are very close to our Fuze customers, and you're kind of on the front lines with your teams, seeing how our customers have been affected by this shift to full-time remote work as we find ourselves in the midst of the COVID-19 pandemic here today. How have you both been affected personally and organization-wise by this pandemic and what's going on today?
Yeah, so that's a great question, Alex. I'll jump in and start. I oversee a sales team and a customer success team, and it's really top of mind to ensure these folks are feeling motivated and productive and healthy. For my team, when our CEO on March 6th said that we'd be permanent full-time working from home, it was a really easy, smooth transition. My team just needs a laptop and earbuds, and we're good to go. So for us, Monday, March 9th, the wheels on the bus were rolling when we started our day at 8 a.m. But you know, for us, one of the things we really wanted to make sure is that we kept a community and culture that was the same. So we've done some things like shorter team meetings with video more frequently. We do video coffee chats. We, as managers, myself and my frontline managers, we check in frequently just to make sure that our teams are just in general feeling good and you know, not feeling alone, because we do have a lot of folks that are that live alone. On a personal note, I think it's interesting challenges to be full-time working from home between pets and little kids and distractions and trying to keep it all balanced. But, you know, on a personal note, we've all kept our sanity. So I think we're okay so far. We're doing all right.
Ron, what about you?
Same thing. I'll echo what Lisa said there. I mean, the working from home dynamic is pretty interesting. Definitely got a couple little kids that are eating up all the space here. But from an organizational standpoint, I think that the beauty of not just the professional services team, but Fuze work culture as a whole, is that when we start to work from home, it's not necessarily different from our overall process, as a lot of us actually do work remotely. A lot of us do work from home regularly.
Right.
Fuze as a company has a very, very high level of respect for that, has a very, very high level of productivity. Even with folks who are working from home. And so what we ended up with in this situation with COVID-19 is just a very acute context to which we had to slightly adjust the way that we worked. I think where we saw it more so was the customer impact, where a lot of the folks who were currently on projects on the professional services side had customers who were in flight. They were in the midst of their deployment, and they were suddenly asking us, well, hold on, time out for a sec. Have we made the right business decisions, the right design decisions? And I think that that's what we're going to be covering for today's conversation. So looking forward to getting into detail.
Yeah, definitely. So I think you guys touched on this, you know, quickly and accurately. Fuze is a company that obviously has remote work in our DNA. This is something that we've been advocates for since day one, given the nature of our platform. So for those customers that you guys are witnessing and helping in your everyday operations, what can they do to make this shift to full-time remote work, something they may have never done before, easier and, you know, less clunky?
It's true. So in earlier days in March, it was the theme was that customers were reaching out in this panicky mode and trying to, you know, put something in place and, you know, taking temporary measures. And you know, it's only been a month, but a month later, now what we've seen is that customers are coming back around, taking a minute to reassess and determine how do they optimally put together a solution that actually can scale with them for a longer term. And not just because of questions about how long this situation for COVID will be in place, but there's also more conversation around, with a lot of customers, around the fact that there may have been a desire to really open up the work from home flexibility and so forth in the past. And this has sort of propelled customers into, well, they have to now, so let's do it right.
Yeah.
I'll add to that, and that it was sort of understood, I would say, in our customer base that there's going to be just this immediate reaction just to keep the business stream going, right?
Right.
Have we looked at it before? Do we need to look at it now? Oh, knee-jerk reaction. We have to turn on work from home because of regulations, because of government orders, that sort of thing.
Mm-hmm.
The consideration that I would immediately say customers who are considering this or are in the midst of this right now is that the first pass that you take on this could be suboptimal, and that's totally okay. The reality of this situation is that the scenario has really forced companies to assess remote and work from home workflows that are longer lasting, to Lisa's point, and have less of a temporary approach. And so the question is, now that we have this sort of immediate reaction down pat, and we've ensured the survivability of the company or continuity of any sort of business streams, how are you addressing the longer term approach when serving this customer?
Right. It really does. It resonates with our customers to talk more about the productivity and efficiency and what does an optimal situation look like. And Ron and I have talked about this. COVID-19 was the equivalent of all these customers worldwide saying, I have 24, 48 hours to put together a project plan that would normally have taken a lot of my full-time job over the course of months to build, to get the right tools in place. So, to really bring it back around to your question, Alex, is if we could summarize in a very quick sentence or paragraph of what you should do, quote unquote, should take a step back and look at what you have available for options. Now that maybe the moment of panic has passed and you can do that, take a step back and look at it as a project. How would you have moved forward if it was a project that you didn't have just 24 hours to build, but you had a few months to build? You probably would have picked out stakeholders. You would have done maybe some tests. You would have looked at what your business needs are, what the optimal situation is that you'd like to achieve, what your end users' personas are. You would do this more in a controlled fashion, and that has been a lot of the recommendation is, okay, let's work together with you, Mr. Customer, on building more of a permanent situation.
Yeah, definitely. I see a lot of our customers are actually finding that their initial research maps well to their response to COVID. So in actuality, whether or not it's a disaster recovery situation, an urgent response around a pandemic, they're responding to new business trends, there's an advent of new income streams on social media, whatever it is, right? Customers are now actually just saying, hey, this effort that we have to push remote working, to push work from home, to push more of our mobility around our day-to-day business has given them just a revised view to their own organization. And that lens they find, whether it's the short-term view or the long-term view, is very, very valuable. It helps them reevaluate their business.
It's interesting. Oh, sorry, Alex. I'm just going to say it's interesting because while none of us can predict what the future holds, it's really interesting to watch how there are companies who would not have traditionally wanted to have a distributed work environment. It wasn't optimal for many different reasons, and this really has propelled a lot of companies to become more forward-thinking, forward-looking, and while it may not have been an enjoyable experience for most to be forced into it, it does, on a positive note, allow for some of our customers to think very creatively at how they can now become maybe a differentiator in their market to offer a different environment for their employees.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think both of you spoke really well to, the fact that this is a very sudden change that our customers are being thrust into the situation, and it can be jarring and not feeling prepared to handle this sort of technical situation. I'm curious, besides the kind of the suddenness of this entire experience for businesses around the world, what are some of the more technical issues or just issues in general that you're hearing from customers across the board? Yeah, I'll open that up to you.
I can start with that. I think it's one of the very, very common things across this COVID-19 situation that we've seen is that it's actually equally as challenging to be both technologically prepared as it is to be culturally prepared.
Mm-hmm.
And either way, like whatever lens you're looking at it with, or whatever bucket you're considering, it requires a lot of consideration. And it's totally okay to be confident in your strategy for both sides. Certainly our customers know their business the best. But what they should be doing is really, and what we've been seeing, is that it's important for them to be prepared for the unknowns and the things that are outside of their control. There's a lot of internal considerations that I have to think about. Questions like the underlying tech infrastructure. Is it as ready as they believe it is ready, or has it changed incrementally over the years? There's some external considerations. How is global capacity of their vendors? Are there outside forces that are forcing these things on a timeline that's less ideal? And then there's even just, as Fuze becomes the vendor of choice, there's considerations around what we have to offer with respect to the business itself. How are things presented to the end users, whether it's a specific feature or workflow that on the surface it matches what the business is currently doing, but to the end user, it represents a different cadence, a different timing, a button click here or there that's very, very different from what people have done over the past 5 to 10 years. These are all things that we've seen our clients sort of rush to get to an answer, but also struggle or excel depending on the examples that we'll talk about in terms of being successful around it.
I will oversimplify my answer, Ron, and I will say that what we are talking about of this sudden change for COVID is essentially a project that was put on someone's plate and said, you don't have a year, you have 24 hours, go. And what we're suggesting, that one of the challenges that we're seeing, that customers are seeing, is that they have not had enough time to look at the technical readiness of their organization, as well as the organizational change that comes with working from home, right? That culture piece. So, and equally important, we're suggesting that they sort of look at this like adoption playbook concept that we've offered to our customers, going to the adoptionplaybook.fuze.com and thinking about the logical steps of what this would look like if you had time, put the thoughts together to create a bit of a playbook for yourself, and don't hesitate to sort of take a step back and look at what steps you should take to ensure that these end users are working productively with whatever it is that you put into place. And thinking about where you can save money, time, and effort to use solutions like what we're talking about, what we're used to make it so that this transition can be very seamless for your administrators who are supporting those end users, and those end users who are working in a not optimal environment with their pets and kids and all kinds of distractions around them, and offering a level of flexibility while you do your job, and a sense of understanding at the same time. So there's a lot there, a lot there. Maybe I didn't oversimplify it, Rana, as I thought, but there's definitely a lot of consideration, and this is what we're talking with our customers about on a daily basis right now.
Yeah, absolutely. And like I said, you guys are on the front lines, so I think that's really valuable, a really valuable takeaway. And I'm curious, so we've talked a little bit about the situation. We've talked about the challenges, the issues that our customers are facing, which are real issues. They're sudden, that they're trying to work through. What lessons have we learned, conversely, from our customers during this time? So obviously we're giving our best practices and our advice, but what have we learned from the experience that they're going through that they're sharing with us?
I think a lot of customers, and quite frankly, we're all humans. I think patience is a virtue that we're all learning from each other of how to be more patient. But from a business perspective, I think what's interesting that in my observation is that this crisis has had and will have additional business effects on, say, things like employee retention and how our customers might attract top talent, let's say, because they are now going to have maybe a more permanent work from home policy or system and solutions for flexibility and compassion for their employees, and it's certainly an unintended outcome, but I think that is what a lot of our customers will, in fact, report back that they've had as some positive outcomes. I think that from our side, we've had, quite frankly, really minimal adjustment from our side because we really, as we've already stated, we really were made for a work from anywhere type of situation. And while this is absolutely not ideal for anybody to be in, we are up and running productive and haven't lost a beat.
Yeah, agreed. I think normally for big technology changes like this, what usually is associated is a well-planned project. We've got project managers on both sides. We've got timelines, everything. With COVID, it essentially forced clients to make decisions that have business continuity that just works, right? In some cases, they have 24 hours or less to just make it happen. Where we get a lot of confirmation from our own Fuze culture, but just like a nice nod to the market, is that those who are flexible in the market are the ones that have a stronger level of survivability, that have a little more tolerance to unplanned changes, and those are, quite frankly, the businesses that kept running or were able to sort of take a small little blip and then get back to running as well. Fortunately, Fuze was one of them. But that is certainly something that we saw at the project level, and a lot of companies that didn't have that flexibility appreciated our guidance, both from our own experience standpoint and then also from industry example as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And so lastly, I think I want to close out. Lisa, you mentioned the Fuze Adoption Playbook. This is a resource we put out, I think, in late 2019. It's available online as well as in PDF format. And then given this COVID-19 situation, we kind of modified it so that there's a section that's the work from home edition, which I think is great. It has best practices and tips about kind of how to adjust your employee population to what's going on right now. And so, you guys, what other resources do our customers have available to them that they should really lean on during this time?
Well, I will say that kudos to our marketing and content writers who've added a lot of additional, more detailed sort of how do you do XYZ type of things in our getting started guides in multiple languages too. We're really trying to be all-encompassing, if you will, to make sure that everybody got what they need from the content piece. But my real answer, I think, is rely on the Fusers themselves. We employ, and I'm obviously biased because I'm very proud of the team that we employ, but from a customer success perspective, from an account management perspective, support, services, rely on your Fusers and specifically reach out to those that are responsible for your account, customer success and account managers, because they're here to help you in building a partnership and working on a longer term plan that, we're used to this, we see this is our bread and butter. So don't hesitate to either call us and ask us one-off questions, but more importantly, spend 20 minutes, 30 minutes with us and talk about what you are struggling with, what you're trying to solve, and let us dig in and be a partner to help you through an unprecedented time that nobody had planned for.
Yeah, certainly exposing the bias over here as well. But I'd say that it can feel pretty overwhelming to have the sole responsibility just to be the catalyst for change at your company, particularly change of technology. I would encourage you to leverage the experience that we have and the cross industry knowledge. You know, we are the only ones that have been deploying in the enterprise for as long as we have. And whether you do it upfront in the project phases, or whether you do it on the tail end, we certainly strongly encourage our clients and our prospects to take advantage of that expertise. You know, Lisa's got a world-class team, and I have every confidence in my team as well to be able to advise on anything that you may have that are outside cases to the adoption playbook, work from home mission.
Absolutely. Yep. Utilize your fusers. We're here to help, and we want to help, and so don't hesitate.
Yeah, I think that's a great note to end on. I want to thank you guys both for joining me for a chat today. I really appreciate it.
Oh, thank you, Alex. Thank you, Lisa.
Our pleasure.
Thanks.
Yeah, take care. Bye.